Just reflecting on my past life. Reflecting on my past like an esoteric flashlight. Hey, what can I see? All the bodies that I used to be, all the hobbies that have my chi to express how much I love to be me. I love to be seen, three to the tree, some of my leaves to breathe in the sea. My spirit's connecting with chaotic elements. They call me away, so I come for the hell of it. Should have straight pocket course, I'm with the helm of it. Tahuti's will sell it, Hermes is free. I fly with peddling, powerful rebel. Evil to melt with, what else could I be but church to see? Tribbian realm to I-C-H-A-S-L-E to see my O. Everyone knows I'm God of the moon, bucked on the storm, I can only know my perspective and roll in the show. Could you see its flow? I go into glow. Grow to grow like garden in my soul. Heaven's a goal, so watch I show you how light is a go-to. Substance spaces used to see the rooms where they get homeschooled. Food in my waters I know. My nothingness I'm my own. Man of my colors aflow. Simulation with all of my soul. So many situations that I've saved. My planet truth is limit equality. My quality's quantity, botany. Triple my tree, trigonometry, my angels be trying and ghosts like isosceles. Ooh, I'm a beast from the east, falling angels in astronomy, Mercury reigning in sovereignty. Communicate ever more consciously, just against it, cause in ideologies ain't been fitting me. Consistently I grow in every industry, leave it in the dust when I'm in this, authentically cultivating on my winning streak. Maybe I'm in too deep, maybe I sin when I go to sleep. Gotta speak to walk with a spire's key to fly and free, and what's frequency, and frequently see what one dreams to be, intent to vibration. We are back. We started getting actually a little hard, and I had to start it so you could join in. We started off with religion. That is where we left off for R.E.A.L.M. And Jonathan and I were just making the main points that everything is energy. So your relationship with God is basically your relationship with energy. But your relationship with God and your relationship with energy will always reflect your relationship with yourself. So that's just where we come back to the infinite individuality thing and understanding that your relationship with God is basically your relationship with yourself. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I think it's important to speak about, and this is kind of what I was going into as far as there are so many different walks of life on this planet, and there's so many different languages. And even when you have Spanish, you have the Mexican version of it, and then you have the Colombian version of it, the Dominicano version. There are many dialects to it. Mm-hmm. And everybody has a different way of expressing God and what God is. Some people will call God Brahman. Some will call it the Tao, the great Tao. Some will call it God. Some will call it Allah. Some will call it source energy. Some will call it the great grandfather spirit. There are many different names. If you think about how many life forms there are on this planet, and even just languages, everybody is calling it something differently. So a lot of times when people talk about God, and they like to use God synonymous with religion, but God and religion are not synonymous, because even all of these religions that I named earlier, they all have a starting point. So so what was happening before then?
Exactly.
And I think it's also important for people to remember, because people are so arrogant, right? And arrogant means to overly express one's importance. People are so arrogant to think that consciousness belongs just to the human being, and that this energy that we're calling God belongs just to the human being. If you think about all of the books ever written, and all of the libraries everywhere, all around, ever written, right, up until right now, and if you think about one tiny period, just a tiny little dot, a period, that's how big the Earth is in regards to the whole entire universe. Mm-hmm. Every single book, right? All the thick encyclopedias, right? The Earth is one tiny period. So this energy that we call God or whatever, it is taking care of everything. It's not just about us. So when we talk about arrogance, and many people, oh, my God is better than your God, I'm the this, I'm that, whatever. They're coming from a state of arrogance again, which means to overly express one's importance. And I think that it's important for us to really reflect on that, and to really realize what we are saying and how small we are thinking. Because a lot of people have thoughts, but a lot of people don't think.
Absolutely. So before we get into E, Could you just break down realm real quick? So we have like a basis of all the letters and how they connect so
Absolutely.
that we can, yeah, see how religion, because right now, what I'm like really hearing is that religion has made money and built a structure off of keeping people asleep, basically. And like realm is really, I mean, very synonymous with dream. And it is about, are you awake in your dream or are you asleep, lucidly living or dying type deal. And we want to make sure everyone's living here. So let's get aware of, yeah, E-A-L-M-M-M.
Yeah, so definitely. So realm stands for, it's an acronym, right? So it stands for R for religion, E for educational, A for agriculture, L for law, or you could say legislation. I really like law.
Yeah.
M for media, M for medical, and M for monetary. So once again, religious, educational, agriculture, law, media, monetary, medical.
Right.
That would tie up these 7 structures that I just named are directly responsible for the enslavement or the brainwashing or the conditioning of humanity on the face of this planet. 99, maybe 95, I can't really prove this, but I based on whoever I talk to, I'll just say 95% of the people identify with one of these structures or many of them combined in many different ways.
Absolutely.
And if you ask them a question, they cannot think outside of these structures. So if I say, what is God? They will revert back to some type of religious document.
Right.
If I say,
Right.
do you believe in I don't know, that you can live without eating, right? Without eating food or whatever, they will revert back to, you need protein or you need this or whatever. They will revert back to some educational system or something like that.
Right.
But I'm kind of going off. I get really passionate about this, so I kind of tame it down a little bit. And yeah, that's what realm stands for. Once again, religious R, educational E, agriculture A, law L, media M, monetary M, and medical M. Realm.
Okay, perfect. So is there anything else about religion that people need to know? Did we just cover it before we can go to E?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, religion goes deep, man. It goes deep. It goes really, really deep. And again, there are so many other different types of religions, but I'm just focusing on Christianity as that's the biggest one. So
Right.
Dogs don't have a religion. Cats don't have a religion. Trees don't have a religion. Mushrooms don't have a religion. Bacteria doesn't have a religion. And why do we have a religion as humans? And I just want to put that out there. Why do you have a religion? So these are questions that you should be asking yourself. I can't really think of anything to touch on right now. I mean, we could go really deep forever.
We could. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, for like someone on, like, I went through religion in this life to be like able to talk about all the asleep things. So I do, can relate with all the people who are asleep. Most people would feel like they need religion because otherwise there'd be no sense of order in the universe. So like people can't imagine or like see like, how does the universe maintain fairness and balance without a God controlling everything? So then it's like easy for them to fall into that, is mainly what I find. Yeah, they wonder where the sense of fairness and balance is, and religion seems to fulfill that. Whatever geographical location they're in, that religion will be like, well, here's our order. And then it's really just about government, though. Like when you're looking at it from a spiritual mindset, it's about seeing how the universe is one big chaotic vibrational wave of nature. And once you as a consciousness start experiencing that nature, that chaos is scary. And this is why people are generally kind of scared of nature, and they more so like technology. It's just that nature is the first technology that allows us to connect. But then once we're connecting in nature, in these bodies, we of course bring more of our nature into that nature to create technology like clothes, now a microphone, and now we can manipulate nature into things that allow us to amplify what we were already using nature to do. Right. And now we're like in a specific kind of realm where people are getting lost into using technology to actually consume the nature that was working perfectly for us to communicate. And this is like really what R.E.A.L.M is all about too, when it comes to destroying the environment. I see.
Yeah, I agree 100% what you're saying, and I do want to add on because you talked
Mm-hmm.
about how many people are afraid of nature or this universal energy because it's chaotic and they
It's
don't
chaotic.
understand it, right?
Exactly.
So Helen Keller, the famous author, right, who was blind and deaf, she said something that really always stuck with me. She said, "Things are to be understood, not fear.
Mm.
You should that things are to be understood and not feared. And if you look at nature, for instance, like everything has a property about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
water is always going to find the lowest point. So if you ever want to
Mm-hmm.
find water, you always go to the lowest point. And if you look inside of yourself, your bladder is at the lowest point, right? Air
Mm.
is always going to find, or fire is always going to find a highest point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
air always goes above water. So that's why your
Right.
lungs, your respiratory system is higher. So what again? Because religion makes you look outside of yourself. The issue is that people are afraid not of nature, but they're afraid of themselves to look inside of themselves. They don't understand themselves, and this is why I wear these
Deep.
hats all the time. Know thyself, because
Important.
the minute you know you, you know everything else. If you
Important.
want to know humanity, if you want to know humanity,
Facts.
study yourself.
Yeah. Facts. Literally. No, you hit that perfectly. Absolutely. So you feel like religions are really stopping people from knowing themselves, perhaps.
Yeah, and it could be a stepping stone for some people.
Right.
For certain people could really recognize that this is such a construct that has shackles on my mind, and it doesn't make sense in many different ways. Now I want something higher, or it
Mm-hmm.
could have certain truths, which it does, because I quote some things from the Bible. The Bible has good stuff, but even the
Mm-hmm.
Bible is not even necessarily synonymous with religion, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
One
there
could
is
look at it like an astrology book, because that's
absolutely.
this, and this is absolutely what we need to nail in for everyone. Of course, all religions practice astrology. Like before any religion, they're using astrology to correlate some sort of system to the stars. And stars are just us looking at the fact that we're not alone, because those are all other planets that are other spaces creating structures to express themselves. Indigenous peoples know this. This is where aliens used to be way more normal. But now we're in a time where somehow people know about aliens, but they're also taught to view them as fiction so that more money can be made off of them. And now we have to get into a deeper conversation of how are aliens interacting with humans right now. But that's, and you know, that kind of is connected to R.E.A.L.M, but like we're not going to get super lost in that side of, I guess, ideas. But the
Yeah.
point is, astrology is more real than any religion. Like, that's a fact.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that with the story of Jesus and how the three wise men found Jesus. How did they find him? They found him based on the three
Boom.
stars. So they were using
There it
astrology
is.
back then, and it's just letting people know that people say, "Oh, don't use astrology; it's that demonic or whatever." But
How are you going to find Jesus?
the very story that a lot of people follow and worship and so on and so forth is letting you know that three wise men found him by how? By following the stars. So, yeah,
There it
Inter-
is.
interesting.
Yeah, that's like everything right there. Like everyone literally has to honestly understand that before they want to keep practicing Christianity. Because really, when we look at Christianity, it's really just, it was created by Jews. And this is where we see that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, they all worship Jesus. But then we can historically see that all their ideas came from Zoroastrianism. So historically, it's basically like the Jews took all the ideas of Zoroaster, turned it into their religion, but then they created Christianity because they are Jesus. And this is why Jews and Jesus are both about Jupiter. It's both about the J, and then it's both about expansion. Now we get into Hermes's dissect the dialect. We see that J is the 10th letter in the alphabet because it's about your heaven. So they want to use this J like a fish hook to
Mm.
pull you out of your home and colonize you, pull you into their heaven. So think of how Jesus is a shepherd, right? This is how the Jews view themselves. They view everyone on the earth as sheep, and they are Jesus. So Christianity is literally, I'm just letting you know, like, don't, it's no, like, it's not personal on any Christian. This is objectively where the people who are creating Christianity are coming from. They created Judaism from stealing Zoroastrianism so that they could be seen as Jesus. And then they created Christianity so that all the sheep can believe in Jesus. And it literally manifests as Jesus being a shepherd who leads the sheep, and everyone worships this idea. So now it's like when you believe in it and you worship it like this, you trap yourself in agreeing to be a slave or agreeing to be a sheep. Either way, you're going to get abducted on a ship type shit, and you're gonna not be able to communicate with your God anymore because you're disconnected from your space. And it's all intentional based on how they stole Zoroastrianism. And now you can go Google Zoroastrianism. You can see that Zoroaster was the Taurus that set up astrology. Now you can see why the Bible is by a bull, right? It's by a Taurus, because they literally have to synchronistically put in the language there that they stole their idea of stability, their idea of being a Taurus, from Zoroaster. And that's where astrology is supposed to be the system that makes heaven make sense, which is what we're living out right now. So now we can all bring heaven to earth because we've created astrology to connect all of our individual spaces, because your heaven is you alone before you enter the universe. So if you want to make your heaven real, you have to build a system that allows you to relate with others in a consistent way, which is why we have our astrological charts. And then that's the purpose of like us looking at our zodiac sign based on this planet or this planet or this planet, because the point is you as an infinite individual are using these structures that spirits outside of you built to build a relationship with yourself. And religions have colonized astrology so that they're weaponizing it against everyone. Like, it's basically Judaism is creating Christianity to tell Christians not to do what Jews do. So now Jews, like, we can point out contradictions in Christianity forever based on how the Jews made it to be witchcraft that traps you into a sheep-like type state. For example, it's a sin to practice divination, right? So divination in Christianity is when you act like you can see the future. So Jews create Christianity and tell Christians, hey, this is a sin. Don't practice astrology, even though we know Jonathan just said that you find Jesus by using the stars. So, okay, snap, that's rough. They also say don't practice divination. So they say that you can't tell the future, yet at the same time, their whole religion is contingent upon telling indigenous people that they're going to go to hell if they don't worship Jesus. So another contradiction, very interesting. Let's see here. Very basic one, right? Very basic one. You're a child of God. In the same breath, they're going to tell you that you're a child of God, but Jesus is the only son of God. So you as a child of God need to worship the only son of God so that you can actually be worthy of God's love and make this money. Meanwhile, they're just doing blood sacrifices behind closed doors with your energy. And a real spirit has to wonder, would God operate like this? So this is just like, if you're here, you have to recognize that you're God in this world. This world, literally everyone's idea of God is colonized by rapists, murderers, thieves, the worst sinful people. And that's why we can, as Jonathan says, objectively be baffled at how violent the history of Christianity is. Just objective, like, look at all these details, like, what's going, like, what? And so, right? So it's just, this is why the universe is chaotic. Emotions are chaotic. And if you don't have your emotions in check, you're going to support the chaos of other spirits building a Bible out of stealing Zoroaster's natural system of astrology and making something that's telling you not to practice astrology. But at the same time, you're celebrating Christmas. You're celebrating Easter. You're celebrating Thanksgiving. How can you not practice astrology? How is that a sin? But you're also, so people in religions are huge walking contradictions. And I think it's just really important that we nail in, that's the big way that realm starts.
Yes.
Like Jonathan's pointing out the huge power dynamic and the spiritual manipulation, which is why we could go infinitely deep on this. So it'll have to be more of a development thing. But it's real, right? It's real. There's no better word.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And you know, when it comes to systems, because we're talking about realm, which is a system in itself. Some could call it the Matrix. Before the movie The Matrix came out in 1999,
Masons love the Matrix. They stole that from Metatron, right? It's them trying to figure out how nature works. So they're building their technological version of nature, because really they just want to make money off of nature, because they can't figure out how we as indigenous people create our consciousness to be able to communicate in supernatural ways, right? Then that's where we get into, of course, all our superpower stuff. But right, the Matrix is that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a system in itself. So even the human body, the anatomical structure that we live in, these bodies, it's comprised of systems. We have a limbic system, a digestive system, a respiratory system, a nervous system. So many systems we have, and I believe we have 12 of them, which is interesting, right? Because it goes to that number 12 again. 12. But
12 zodiac signs.
Exactly. Right. Systems are important, just as we have a solar system, because we were talking about astrology as well too. So whenever you can form a system, like the most successful businesses, whether if it's a McDonald's or a Coca-Cola or whatever have you, they're called turnkey businesses, and the reason why is because they have systems put into place. So when you have systems, you have a lot of power, even if it's negative or positive. And that's something that people need to realize, because a lot of people are just dealing with the symptoms of the system, and they aren't necessarily addressing the system itself. So I just want to make that clear to our viewers that are watching right now.
Absolutely. That's huge. That's something that, of course, connects very hard to the medical part of R.E.A.L.M, addressing the symptoms of a problem instead of the actual problem. Absolutely. And how the Masons somehow make money out of that too. Infinitely. And then we see that in superhero culture as well, where it's like Tony Stark is a superhero because he saved the world from himself, from Ultron, after he made billions of dollars off of weapons manufacturing, all from materials stolen from indigenous lands. Like, these are the minds of Masons. This is the world of like their superhero idea, just like the Bible. It's all the same chaotic energy of stealing indigenous ideas so that they can make money off of our attention, because your time is the most valuable thing in the world. Like, let's just get that right out here now. Like, your soul is you spending time being aware of anything. So like, it's really important to like check how you're spending your time being aware of anything. Like, whatever you're aware of, do you want to be aware of that or not? Because if you don't, then the more time you spend being aware of that, you are bringing your vibration lower to experience more of that in your world. And this is the main spiritual warfare that we're in when it comes to religion, because religion doesn't teach you at all, like Hermes would, how to mentally communicate in a way that makes you love yourself, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Reading the Bible made me cry a lot growing up. It made me hate myself. Like, I had to develop self-hate based on the people who were teaching me I wasn't good enough to be me.
Yeah. I think it's interesting what you said in our other interview that we did together, is that they teach you that Jesus loves you, but then you were born into sin, meaning like you're not good enough to like love yourself. It's really interesting if you think about just the dichotomy of it. Like wow, man, we have been effectively brainwashed, bamboozled, tricked on so many different levels, and it sucks, man, because going back to the Matrix again, the very people that you're trying to awaken, those people turn into agents, and they try to harm you, inflict harm upon you. It's like trying to save a wild animal that's in a ditch. You have to be very careful about how you do it, because they're afraid, and they can end up harming you. So we go about it in a strategic type of way. But yeah, you brought up a good point also too. You know, your attention, right? Where your attention goes, energy flows. Where your attention goes, energy flows, and essentially, what you're putting attention on, you are consuming. Whether if it's music or whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and this becomes who we are. What we consume becomes who we are.
You are what you
So,
eat.
yeah, pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention, because we are in some dynamic, important, and powerful times. This is the time that will define you for the remainder of your existence. So it's important and very crucial that you make the most conscious choices that you can possibly to determine what direction that you want to go. Move in the direction that you want to go. Move in the direction that you want to go.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's like so many people just don't even know what they want. That's like how chaotic of a world we're dealing with, basically. Just people literally, when they don't know what they want, then they'll move anywhere. And then it's just basically, it seems that humans are acting on the base desires of wanting to consume. And people are very much lost in eating, which does that bring us to E? E stands for entertainment. So that is about the media.
No, E is education.
Oh, bet. Okay. That's way better than entertainment. Because, yeah, this country literally, obviously, it devalues education and upscales entertainment to the point where actors get paid way more to lie than teachers will ever get paid to tell the truth.
Yeah, I wrote a verse about this. I do hip hop, right? So I wrote a verse about this. I forget how it goes, but I mean, my mom's an educator, been an educator for over 40 years. I was homeschooled. I had the luxury of also going to public school. You know, I went to an all-white school, all-black school. Went to school with a lot of Latinos. I've seen a lot of different walks of life and what happens in the school systems, in the scenes and behind the scenes. So education, you know, we can dig into this. I know the time is actually coming down. I don't know how you want to kind of hop into this, but I'll let you lead the direction and I'll follow.
Absolutely. We can take a quick commercial before we hop into education, but we do have 2 minutes before I have to cut off. So if there's anything to wrap up with religion, now is the time until we come back and go deeper, of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again,
I think a main thing is that it helps people connect with God up to a point where they just have to connect with themselves if they want to actually experience their true idea of heaven. If I was going to make it as simple as possible for all religions.
Absolutely. Go inside and know yourself. Go inside and know everything that's on the outside. Literally, an aspect of that is inside of yourself, right? Everybody wants to go to outer space, but nobody wants to go to inner space.
Yeah, inner space is huge.
It's gigantic. It's infinite. Go to your inner space. There's many different techniques that you can use if you're having issues to go into your inner space, and we're gonna get into this as we break down R.E.A.L.M. The reason why most people are unable to go inside of this space, because this R.E.A.L.M. system has it was strategically put together in such a methodical way that people just couldn't escape, or just by accident. I don't know, but I do know that it's effective, and I do know that many people are effectively enslaving themselves because of how effective this system is.
And that literally makes me think of that scene in Spider-Man Homecoming. No, not Homecoming. Spider-Man Far From Home. Did you see that, Jonathan?
I've seen all of them. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so and I already expressed my disdain at them exposing the soul, but also not, because it just gives me like the synchronicity to communicate about how the Masons stole all this indigenous wisdom from Mercury and are using it to teach people to be slaves. Basically, exactly what you're saying, but not Spider-Man. The newest one, that one with the soul and Doctor Strange, but Spider-Man Far From Home. Is that
the one
scene
with Mysterio? I think his name was. What was his name?
Yeah,
okay.
That's perfect. It was Mysterio. It was the guy using illusions. He wanted to be the new Iron Man. Spider-Man had drones that could kill anyone on the planet because Bill Gates, Tony Stark's had that technology and gave it to him. So whatever. He then gave it to the bad guy because he didn't have spider sense to judge that whatever. I just wanted to bring up how important every scene in movies are to the Masons making them. And this is the idea of predictive programming, where when these movies are making millions of dollars, they're putting way more truth into movies than they are in a school. And that scene where Spider-Man woke up in the prison and broke out, and those three dudes closed the gate and decided to sit in and stay, is exactly what you're talking about.
They were comfortable in their enslavement. That's a bad place to be.
Yeah, very bad place to be. We'll be back. Gang, gang.